My name is James Fulk. We're in Sailor's Grave Tattoo in Eureka, California.
Okay.
You want to know like where I am from originally, or?
Yeah, where are you from?
I was born in Palo Alto, grew up in Hollister, California, little town in Central California, small farm town in the middle of everything, so it was cool. Go to the city, come back to town, not have to deal with all that shit. And then I've been up here in Humboldt for going on 11 years now.
Wow. What brought you out here?
A girl, actually, at the time. We were dating for a while, and then I moved up here with her. She was from my hometown as well. Didn't work out, stayed up here. There's no other place I'd be. This place is fucking awesome.
Yeah. How did you get into tattooing?
So when I was a really little kid, I got a bunch of brothers and everything scattered around. I met my brother Richard for the first time when I was about 7, 8 years old. At the time, he was getting tattooed by this guy named Johnny Kiwi in Gilroy. I started going with him, hanging around the shop a bunch. I'd sit there and just try to redraw everything Johnny would draw. Really got into it. Loved tattooing. When I was 14 years old, I asked my dad if I could get a tattoo. He said, yeah, probably not the best idea because I'm covered in shit now. But yeah, so he said it was cool. So I went and got my first tattoo, and that kind of started it all. And then I was getting tattooed all the time since the age of 14 till I'm 38 now. So it's been a while. Yeah.
Wow. But that's how you got into, I mean, we talked earlier, you said you were working as like a full licensed tattooer for 5 years?
So I apprenticed under Henry here in this shop.
Okay.
Apprenticed for about 2 years or so. I've been tattooing full time for 3 years now. And before that, I had an apprenticeship at another shop. That didn't work out too well. Wasn't really digging that. So I took off, and at the time, a bunch of life shit happened. So I was just like, this isn't the best place for me right now. Just working, hucking dirt down in southern Humboldt. Started getting tattooed by Henry. One day he was like, man, I wish you liked people because I'd try to get you into the shop. And then that kind of got the gears moving a little bit. And then I met my partner now, and she told me, if you don't do it now, you'll never do it. So go harass him. I kept coming, talking with him, calling him. He'd ignore me. Showed up one day, and I just never left. I quit my job, got rid of all my stuff, and started here full time.
Wow, you quit your job?
Yep.
Was it like a leap of faith moment for you?
No, not really. I mean, you can either huck dirt for the rest of your life, or you can go pursue something you want to do. So, like I said, I sold everything I had, moved into my mom's garage, which was very cold that winter as well. Started here, and then COVID happened and shut us down for a few months. So that was kind of a bummer at my beginning of my apprenticeship. But yeah, after that, just stuck with it. And now I'm here. So it's pretty cool.
Wow, you're the second person I talked to who had an apprenticeship during COVID.
Yep. I started that October before, and then when was the shutdown? Like in February or something like that. So
it was March.
Yeah.
March 16th.
Yep.
was the fateful day.
That was quite the bummer. But then it was over and we got back to tattooing, so that's cool.
Yeah, there was a Friday the 13th in March. At my shop, we like to do Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a big thing, and the whole city knows about, or the town knows about it. And then that Monday, it was the shelter in place.
Yep.
What were you thinking when that happened? So you're apprenticing.
I kind of thought it was going to be over before it began, but then Henry assured me like it's all going to die down, which it did. It was like 3-4 months that we all had off, so we got to hang out with the family and do whatever we wanted to do for a little while, and then we got back to it.
Were you worried about your potential future as a tattooer?
No. I don't look too far ahead into the future, unfortunately sometimes, but yeah.
Are you kind of a live in the moment kind of person?
For certain things, not everything, but when the time comes, yeah.
What's kind of the things that you like to plan out or see far ahead?
Family stuff, making sure my kid's gonna have a decent life and she grows up to be a well-rounded person.
Okay, you just have the one daughter?
Yeah.
Are you gonna have any more?
No, I got snipped.
One's enough. Oh, you got
I
snipped.
did, yeah.
Whoa, one really is enough. He's like, that's it. You punched your card and
Yep.
then you went out. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Nah,
I'm good.
one's enough, man. She's 11 going on like 17, so.
So you, it seems like you went through quite a bit of trials and tribulations to become a tattooer.
A little bit,
And,
but
but where was this motivation? Like, why did you have, you said, of course, you don't want to dig dirt or push dirt for a living. You could be tattooing, but where, were you just always artistic, or did you always have this vision that you were like,
I've been drawing since I was a little kid. I used to get in trouble in school for drawing stuff, and my dad was my biggest advocate. He'd always get called in, and you'd be like, well, why is he in trouble? He's just make it so he's not bored and he won't be drawing on everything. So it just kind of came naturally. I love drawing. I do it in my free time. Like it's the one thing I love doing the most is just creating shit. It's fun.
are you kind of a builder too? Do you have?
Not really. I like Legos.
Oh, you're a Lego guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like playing with those with my daughter. Those are fun.
Yeah, yeah. So you're just naturally artistic.
Yeah, to a certain extent. When I got into this, I had to relearn how to draw like everything for a tattoo style because my favorite stuff to draw is cartoons and everything, and not everybody wants cartoon tattoos. So you kind of have to be a well-rounded, see what people are doing, and be able to make the best tattoo for that person.
Yeah, the traditional style is it's a different shift, especially from animation.
Yes, simplifying everything down too to where it looks good as a tattoo.
Yeah, so it lasts on the skin.
Yep.
What are you into cartoon wise?
Early 90s cartoons. A big thing of mine was always Ren and Stimpy. John
Yeah.
K, Bob Camp. Awesome. I actually got to meet Bob Camp in San Francisco at
That's
the Comic Con
awesome.
a few years back, and he was nice enough to walk around with me and just bullshit for like 35 minutes. And we just talked about LSD and cartoons and shit we liked. It was fun. It's one of like the rare photos where I'm actually smiling because I met one of my heroes. Like, that's awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm Ren and Stimpy was the reason I started drawing. When I was like 5 or 6, like I would eat cereal before I go to school, before my mom would drop me off at the preschool. And for whatever reason, I was never a Disney kid, and I was not really crazy about the old Hanna-Barbera style.
See, that shit's awesome though, especially like the old original cartoons from the late 20s and 30s. Yeah.
I appreciate it a lot more these days. But as a kid, what was really my vibe was Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I would eat cereal in the morning, you're just a kid. But when they did a behind the scenes, for whatever reason, they would play Ren and Stimpy early in the morning. I remember that intro where it's raining. It's like do 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 do.
Yep.
And they had a behind the scenes of the studio, and that's back when they would flip draw, and it had Bob Camp and John Krickaluski,
Yep.
and talking about how they did the flip
animation
drawing,
cells and everything,
the
yeah.
animation cells and drawing and stuff like that, and they're drawing Ren and Stimpy on there, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I remember my mom putting them all in front of me. I was like, that's what I want to do in my life.
Yeah, even the backgrounds of those scenes, they're beautiful paintings that they put the animation onto. It was one of a kind, and it was just groundbreaking at the time.
There is really something about that era of animation. It was right before things started to become really digitized, and I feel like there's a amazing amount of soul and spirit in that era of cartooning, and that you just do not get these days.
Not nowadays.
It's like you watch cartoons now, and I like some cartoons. I like like Regular Show and like Adventure Time and all, and then the Cartoon Network. The Adult Swim stuff is a little bit different because they're supposed to be campy and bad artistically. But anything these days is just not the same.
No.
It's just not the same.
Nah, it's all computer, and it just doesn't have that same oomph to it.
So what kind of style are you? You're American traditional specifically?
Yes, that's what I learned with and everything. I mean, we're a very traditional shop here, so I try to stay in that realm. Sometimes I get to leave that realm, do some weird shit like eyeball centipedes and stuff like that, where they're a lot more black and a little darker imagery. But for the most part, I like bold lines, solid color. Like things are gonna look good when you're like 80. It might be a blob, but you can still tell what that blob used to be, and those look badass when the old dudes walk around with that shit.
I think so too. Are you a coil or rotary guy?
Coil.
Loyal to the coil or?
That's what I learned on. That's what I've used. I've never used one of those rotary pens. They look kind of silly to me. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be against trying one. I've never had the opportunity to, and also I really don't care. Coil machines work great. Like,
I mean, I think as far as ink placement, coil machines are superior.
yeah,
The only thing that I don't think they can do as well is like stippling.
yeah, that's true.
But if you're not doing a lot of stippling, then
I do not.
yeah.
Nope. You
If
get
you're
that classic
doing-
whip shade on there, everything's great.
If you're doing a nice whip shade with nice bold lines, bold
Yep.
will hold lines, then that's where it's at.
Yeah, like what you saw me doing earlier. I love doing that shit. That's the good stuff right there.
What do you think about? Well, okay, so you, in my experience, dealing with a lot of city people, city people are like really connected and kind of like locked in, locked like. I'm in an online Facebook group, and it's called Tattoo Shop Talk, and they get a lot of my discourse from there.
Okay.
But for you, and for honestly most people, most tattooers that I meet, are pretty much like yourself. Do you see yourself as a guy who comes in and is just here to do some tats and you're here to make the best tats that you possibly can?
Well, yeah, you have to. If you're not doing that, like get the fuck out. You want to give the best tattoo you can to your client and make them happy, and ultimately make yourself happy too, because you're gonna see it out there. Everyone else is gonna see it, and they're always gonna point out a bad tattoo. They might point out a good tattoo, but they will always point out a bad one.
Yeah. Do you have any people you idolize? Are you into like the history of tattoos or anything?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. Mostly, like, I don't know. I'm pretty shut in. I don't really know what's going on outside the shop too much, unless I cruise around on the internet and see what people are doing. But yeah, there's a bunch of people out there. There's Matt Kearney in South Carolina. I really like his work. His is very Greg Irons-esque. If you look at his work, you can really see that in there. Jeff Rasher's another one from Blackheart in San Francisco. That guy's got just some amazing artwork, incredible tattoos. Just his style is really great. Very Ken Reed-esque, the weirdo cartoons from the 60s and 70s and whatnot.
Yeah, Blackheart's full of straight up killers.
Yeah, that's a good shop right there.
Definitely.
Honky Conger down in San Diego, he does a lot of that cool cartoony shit that I like. And once again, just Henry. Henry's been tattooing for 30 years. He gave me my career. Like he's a good, solid tattooer. He's a good dude. He taught me everything I know. So yeah, I idolize him quite a bit, and I try to impress him with every tattoo that I do.
You guys have a great relationship?
We
then?
do. Yeah, no, we're like family. I've been with him for 5 years now, and he's a good, solid dude. I love him.
Is Sailor's Grave the only place that you have experience tattooing?
No, I was at another shop for about a year and a half doing an apprenticeship there.
For the apprentice, yeah.
Didn't really work out too well. He wasn't really teaching me much, and I was putting in a whole lot of the work, and then before you know it, I just became a maintenance man for him, and he wasn't teaching me anything. So it's kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna go. And then I just said, well, that's probably how they all are. So I just started working down in Southern Humboldt, hucking dirt for about 5 or 6 years. And then that's when I met Henry because I started getting tattooed by him.
Oh, you were doing the what is it? Pushing dirt? I'm not familiar with that.
Daisy Supply. It's just a big grow store in Southern Humboldt. So I was there for 5 years, just loading dirt and amendments and everything you need to grow weed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm from the Bay and I've lived
right,
close to the cities. Like my friend that I'm staying with, he's a scaler, and he's telling me all about this whole ecosystem of scaling and logs and all that kind of stuff that's like completely foreign to me.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to talk to me about self-driving car startups that you'll find and robot waitresses that come up and serve you food that are automated, robots like that, like that's kind of like stuff I see that might even blow
you
your
don't
mind.
see any of that around here.
Yeah, that's why it might blow your mind. So I'm getting my mind blown right now. I'm being like, okay. So I had a similar experience where I had a couple of mentor startups that didn't really work out.
Yeah.
And the first guy, granted, he eventually got into a shop, but at some point, before then, I just couldn't keep showing up at his garage and helping him out and just like cleaning his floors and watching his kids and stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of shit. I don't mind doing that stuff if you're gonna trade info to me. But if I'm just your little laborer, it doesn't work. You're not paying me, so.
I agree. Yeah, I feel like that. I want to be involved.
Yeah.
I want to. This job is not like the job at Starbucks where you come in and in 2 hours you have your 15-minute. Go take your 15 minutes.
We don't clock in. We don't clock out. Like when I go home, I spend a good portion of my time just drawing shit for people or drawing things that I like doing because I'm here all day drawing or tattooing. So yeah, a lot of my time is just spent trying to create weird little things that I like.
Are you a round the clocker?
What do you mean?
And I just kind of made that word up right now, but for me, like I'm always working.
Yeah.
Like even as I'm coming out here for this thing with my girlfriend, we like just the gears are always turning for me. Like I'm constantly working. Like the idea of a lunch, the idea of like I probably took my first vacation that was a real vacation. That wasn't just me like finding a spot to tattoo on the side or something like that.
Shit, I don't think I've ever even taken a vacation. Like,
exactly.
I haven't left Humboldt in quite a while.
Oh yeah. But you see, usually when I travel, I try to find someone to tattoo, and it'll cover like all my travel expenses.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Or I make a little bit extra money, and it's just like the first time I didn't do that. I mean, I did do this. I did do the recording. But this it's a little bit easier. For me, tattooing is extremely stressful.
Yeah.
And it's all consuming. Like as soon as I start, it's like, I got to finish this. It's sometimes even hard to talk.
Yep.
It's sometimes hard to have a conversation and be like
just really, be present with the world around you while you're just zoned into what you're doing.
Yeah. And out where I'm at, people kind of expect the experience of, everyone wants a different experience, but most of the time you have to have give them a good experience.
I usually let my clients dictate that. If they want to talk, we can bullshit about light things so I don't have to think too hard. And if they want to just sit there in silence, we can do that too, because I spend most of my time like that. So it doesn't bother me at all. Whatever helps you get through it, and we'll give you the best tattoo we can.
Yeah. Well, the customer experience is paramount. I tell people that the most important person in tattooing is the person getting a tattoo.
Exactly.
That's just kind of part of it. It's the main thing. I had a point and I was gonna bring it up, but it was a really good one. All right, we are back.
I'm so sweaty.
Are you nervous?
Always.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, do you feel like there's just people who you were in a predatory situation?
I wouldn't say a predatory situation. I would say that he was just Yeah, he wasn't in anywhere where he should be teaching anybody really. After looking back on it.
Okay, yeah, that's how I felt about it a couple times
Yeah.
when I look back on my situation. You know, not everyone, even if the person is really skilled, a lot of times they might not be a great teacher.
Yeah.
So, and and then with you, it seems like it's already come and gone for you.
Oh yeah. It's when shit happens. Once it's out of view, I don't think about it anymore. It's just part of life.
Yeah.
Something happened. Now it's over with. Let's move on to the next thing.
Okay, yeah, you seem pretty chill.
Can
Like
be.
extremely chill.
I can be. Not all the time though. Most of the time I'm just a neurotic mess. But I don't say it out loud. I'm just a very quiet person, and inside here is just chaos.
You seem very chilled to me. You
Right
seem
on.
like you got it all together.
Good. At least someone thinks so.
What do you like so much about Humboldt and being out here?
I mean,
Because
what's
you're from
not to
Palo
like?
Alto.
Well,
originally.
I was only born there. I lived in Mountain View right after that, and then for a few years I lived out in the middle of nowhere in Redding, and then I
yeah.
went down to Hollister, which is just a small farm town. And then in my 20s, I went back to Redding, and I lived even further out in the middle of absolutely nowhere, a town of about 100 people named Whitmore. So that was cool. I typically like the seclusion of places like that. Like there's only a couple ways in and out of Humboldt, and we're so far away from most of the things that I don't like. So it's a nice little oasis that hasn't been touched by the Bay Area yet. And hopefully it takes them quite some time before they realize that we're up here.
Yeah, I hope so too. I'm not too crazy about a lot of the things that have been happening in the world currently. I don't know if you said you don't really get out of Humboldt very much.
No, not much.
Well, the experience that I have here is and I love to travel. I love to travel, and I love to go and meet new people. That's one of the reasons I even got into tattooing, because I wanted to be a traveling tattooer. And thing about tattooing, staying in place is actually a lot better than traveling, unless you're like extremely good or you just have some mystical power about
Yeah.
you. But any chance I get, I still try to do it. So when you go to new cities, as you're traveling around, one of the things now is that everything's getting really homogenized, despite being several hundred miles apart. You'll go and it'll be like the same hibachi grills, the same chain steakhouses.
Just cookie cutter, just subdivisions and shopping malls. And
There's so much, barely even shopping malls. Shopping malls are
those are a thing of the past now.
They're getting there, yeah. If you have a mall out here, you're living in the past.
We got a mall that's almost just completely dead.
Yeah, that's how it is back in my hometown. I was born and raised in SoCal. In this one town, it's like almost like everything's packing up and getting out. But in most major cities, it's crazy. There isn't. I love mom and pop's places. I especially love new and unique restaurants, and it's one of my favorite things about going out is trying someplace new, someplace I haven't been before, someplace that you can't get anywhere else. And finding all these things in all these major cities, it's just it's a pain in the butt, to be quite honest. And it really really doesn't make me feel great about traveling.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I love traveling. I will still find it. I will do it.
Well, shit, you look at some of those major cities, and a lot of them, there's parts of them that just look like third world countries now. There's tent cities and just open fires everywhere at any given time.
Is that what you're seeing these days? I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah, when I watch a bunch of people who just travel around to crazy places on YouTube, and my buddy lives down in Oakland, and he's always telling me about the shit that he sees. And yeah, it's insane. And luckily, we haven't seen any of that here yet, and hopefully never.
Your friend would be about right, especially during COVID. It got really, really bad.
COVID changed a lot of shit for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, they were just straight up putting full on towns. I mean, I live in this place over in Martinez,
Oh, okay. I know where that is.
Yeah, you know where that is.
Yeah.
And there, and over by the in the park, there was a. It's removed now, and they had cleared everyone out. But a full on shantytown, like a real, legitimate shantytown,
Yeah.
had been established, and under the COVID laws, um, you know, um, they allowed them to stay there for a while. That they,
Oh, okay.
like the
Yeah.
police officers couldn't
Yep.
couldn't move them
They
out if
didn't
they
want
wanted
anyone to
to.
be completely displaced, so they're just like, well, you're here, keep you here.
Yeah, and that's fine. Um, my girlfriend works in homeless services, so I hear a lot about how challenging it is to have um, a place to live.
Yeah.
And but with everything going on in the towns, I think a lot of the biggest problem, the biggest problem with homelessness that she tells me is affordable housing. Having affordable housing is it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy in the Bay, and the problem with San Francisco and Oakland right now is all the culture has been picked clean.
Mm-hmm.
It's been picked clean by the tech industry, and there's just almost nothing left. There's barely any culture left. The idea that San Francisco and Oakland was the hotbed of culture and the beginning of so many cultural movements is so disintegrated. Like the history of it is just almost completely overrun by self-driving
Well, it's
cars.
almost like they're starting a whole new culture of this just chaos. Unfortunately, because you start to see it's just not like it just didn't pop up overnight. It was a slow over the past 20 years of just boom, boom, boom until we're here now. And so I think that might be part of the new San Francisco and Oakland and just Bay Area culture.
That's what it looks like to you.
Yeah, unfortunately.
What do you think the prognosis on that
Oh, I
is?
have no idea. Somebody will figure it out at some point, and they're way smarter than I am.
That's how I feel the same way. For me, I'm just an observer. I like to pick people's opinions without trying to give my own.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way. I feel like it's become a feudalistic tech monarchy society.
Yeah.
And the wealth disparity has gone so far from each other. Like the distance between people who have and have not is that it's not just a rift, it's a chasm.
Yeah.
And it's caused push more people, it, the higher you stand, the more bodies you have to stack.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, and it with the tech is it's so high up there, and you're paying $15,000 a month for like a 4-bedroom that you're splitting
Yeah.
6 ways.
It's all unachievable for just normal everyday people. It's designed that way because they don't want a middle class, but that's a whole different thing that I can go on for hours about.
Yeah. So are you into that kind of like? I'm a little bit into it, like how they're trying to destroy the middle class.
Oh yeah, no, it's all designed by elites and everything, and that's what they want. And I'm not very trustworthy of any of those types of people, but luckily, like I said, we're up here and we don't have to deal with any of that too much. You'll see a couple Teslas on the road, but that's about it. There's no robot butlers yet or anything like that. We're not flying around in hover cars yet, which would actually be kind of cool.
That'd be nice if they were independently owned.
But you got to remember how shitty people are on the road. Just imagine they're up in the sky now, and those things come crashing down on you when you're just trying to go on about your day to day.
That is true, yeah. That's like a whole nother bed of worms. I think what's going to happen is that cars are pretty much going to be a thing. Just cars that you drive are going to be a thing of the past. There's going to be like a couple of old farts who just won't give it up.
Yeah.
But most cars, I think, give it like 40, 50 years.
By 2040, they want all electric cars.
I saw that. I don't think that's going to happen, but
Probably not, but
that's the goal. Yeah. You own nothing and be happy, and you'll just rent them too.
Exactly.
And Go lay down. No, go lay down. Go lay down. Go lay down. Yeah, so you'll own nothing and be happy. I think that most cars are going to be without steering wheels.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll just, instead of everyone facing front, people are going to face into each other.
Yeah.
And they're all just going to
little
be
pods floating down the road, whatever they're doing.
Yeah, and they're all going to communicate with each other, and it's going to be like bullet trains going all over in the infrastructure.
Yeah.
And
that shit scares me.
It scares you?
It does. That's too much control that they have over you. They can shut your car off anytime. They can slam it into a wall. Yeah. They can do whatever they want with it.
Yeah, that freaks me out too. Like, I hate the idea. After this car, I'm going to get an older car, so the CIA can't just drive me off.
Truck out there, 1985 Chevy. They can't control anything about it.
I love it. I love it. And there's something about, I love 80s style. That specific era, personally, for me. Yeah. My dream car is
70s and 80s, or 60s too, but it depends on the car. But yeah, it's just much more style. They're better to look at. Everything nowadays looks like brand new shoes. Round and smooth, and they just look like a pair of new tennies.
Well, I hate how they look now. I remember when Tesla first came out, I was like stoked on the newness. I like new things sometimes. Yeah. I love technology. I love it within reason. But now that there are so many Teslas, they are I'm just so tired of seeing them. I resent them at this point. I completely resent them. I don't like having all these cars and seeing only Teslas. I like to stand out. And for me personally, and it's kind of like how I feel about rotaries these days for rotary tattoo machines. And they are all the same. And the thing about coils is I say rotaries are like Teslas. They're like iPhones. They're all the same.
Well, yeah, little Chinese kids are making them in some factory somewhere, and then they ship them over here. And there's no soul to them. Even if you do take it apart, now you void the warranty, and it's just...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Nothing about them really stands out to me. If that's what you use to give the best tattoo you can, so be it. But, I mean, you can't go wrong with coils.
The sad part is that's probably at some point that's probably going to be the norm. And coils are probably going to be a thing of a way past.
I'm sure it is.
That's just far into the future at some point. You know, you can only throw... Like what I'm doing now, I'm essentially taking the things that we're all saying as tattooers and trying to throw it as far into the future. But at some point, it's gonna land, and the world's gonna move past it.
Well, now they got that big machine thing, like from that Idiocracy, where you stick your arm into it, and it does all the little dots tattoos and shit like that. It's weird.
Yeah, and I feel like with that, I understand people are kind of worried. But I feel like no matter how good they make the machine, there's just no way a machine is going to be able to replace a tattoo artist.
No, not at all.
I don't think technically it's feasible.
No, there's too many variables in it. I mean, maybe in 1,000 years, if we're even still around, but anytime soon in my lifetime, I doubt it.
No, not in our lifetime. No. I don't think in our lifetime at all. I think one, there's just not enough interest. Tattooing is not important. Surgery is important. Yeah. Kidney surgery, yes. Okay, they're going to figure out a way to do that, probably. But there's just too many variables. Like you can't. How is a machine going to do the intricacies of taking a client and getting all the certain special things that they want and getting it exactly how they want and putting it in the place that they want?
Yep.
Or knowing not to put it in a place that they shouldn't get it, or doing it with enough space in between. And that's why I think that, you can't commoditize tattoo. You can't McDonald's tattoos. You can't conveyor belt them. No. Anybody who comes in, you shouldn't. I mean, maybe if you want to give me what your thoughts are on that. But I think everyone who comes in you can't conveyor belt people. You can't McDonald's it. You can't scale it. That's the word.
Yeah.
You have to treat everyone individually.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, fucking. It all comes. I mean, you got different types of skin. You have people who can sit. You have people who can't sit. Like, there's way too many variables for machines to ever take over our jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that
But it
there's
would be a cool thing where you got a bunch of primitive tattooers fighting all these crazy robots and shit like that. And that's a fun movie or a little skit somewhere.
dude, that's awesome. I think that's amazing. Yes, have a little.
Like a Mad Max type thing where you have all these old school tattooers with their fucking coil machines and homemade weapons against these dumbass robots. Like, spray them with water and they malfunction.
Yeah, I'm imagining like a shop like this surrounded by like skyscrapers.
Oh fuck that.
And some Lyle Tuttle looking motherfucker in suspenders and no shirt being like giving the finger to everybody.
Smoking, just
Yeah. So yeah, smoking inside, just taking his ticket and wiping his ass with it. You know, like Up Style. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but
fuck, dude, I watched so many movies. It's hard for me to.
it's been a while. But the corporations want. He's got his house, and the corporations want to build on top of it.
Oh yeah, okay. The
And he won't give it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't want to give it up. I tell people that this is the last. This is essentially the last samurai of jobs. This is the last job where it's like a real apprenticeship, where you were an actual apprentice.
Yeah.
Like even doing plumbing or electrician and stuff, it's really just like an entry level job being an apprentice. Mm-hmm. This is the last job. This is the last of the Mohicans. I could say that because I'm Indian, Native American, and it's the last. It's just the last frontier. That's what I'm looking for. It's the last frontier of jobs where it's like just a job, just like a normal job. That you can
devote your life to it. Like I said, we don't clock out at the end of the day and be like, oh, job's done. No, I got to figure out how to make this thing look cool in the spot you want it. I might be up until 3 a.m. at my house on my own time doing that for you. No one ever really sees that though. They just see the finished product and they go, oh, that's cool. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, as a customer, they're not interested in how it got there.
No, not at all. Which is fine. Like that's
fine. Yeah.
They're looking for something cool that they can put on themselves, and we're here to do it.
Well, that's why we put our blood, sweat, and tears into the craft. That's why we work so hard to make them happy.
Yeah, I've given up a lot for this job, and it's given me a lot. Luckily, like I said, I was able to get in with Henry. He's got 30 years under his belt come 1st of September this year. That's 30
That's
years
amazing.
of tattooing professionally. I'm sure it's a little more, but he'll claim 30.
Yeah, I have a little more under my belt, than what I say.
So luckily, I was able to get into here and have like a real apprenticeship. There was a couple other guys here before me, and they helped out quite a bit too. So I'm always thankful to them. I'm still friends with them. They moved to other shops, but like, I still love them. They helped me grow up in this shop. They helped me with things, telling me I did this wrong or I did this right. Like, you know, just helping out, which was extremely, extremely helpful. Great. Yeah, this is one of the best shops around. Like, I love it here.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I remember when I walked in here.
It's cool as shit. I mean, you looked around at this place, like, it's amazing.
Exactly. That's what, when I walked in, I was like, wow. Like, so it reminds me a lot of my shop.
Yeah.
Just completely different color scheme.
It's gotta be a bummer when people walk into like the private studios and there's just nothing but white blank walls and then like a fern and a television set.
Yeah. Well, I had a private studio for a little while, but I decorated kind of like this.
Yeah.
And I had a TV just to keep people occupied.
Gotcha.
But what you're referring to is that Instagram boutique style shop.
Yeah.
And I've seen plenty of those.
They're all over.
Yeah.
Somebody gave somebody some money and now they have their own shop and they've been tattooing for a year and now they have an apprentice. Yeah, it's silly.
It's for somebody out there. I'm not sure if I care about that person, but it is for somebody out there. Some people, you know, are really into therapy style tattoos.
Yeah,
Some
if that's
people are
your thing
really,
that you're into, like, have
yeah,
at it, man. I'm not gonna tell you to stop just because I'm not into it. There's a bunch of shit that I'm into, and if someone told me to stop, go fuck off. Like, this is
yeah,
this
yeah,
is, this is the land of the free. You're able to do that shit without any kind of repercussion or anything.
yeah. Have the blankest walls.
Yeah,
Have your walls as blank as you want. Have
yeah,
your ferns as ferniest as you
yeah.
want. But it ain't for me.
I just won't go there.
Yeah, yeah. I feel that. But it looks weird to me. I mean, personally, if I'm
Well,
just
yeah,
speaking
because we
specifically,
grew up looking at shops like this, and they're supposed to look like that. You look at old shops in the magazines and pictures and whatnot, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, there's stuff all over the walls. There's plenty of stuff to look at, and it's all tattoo related. And
that's how. Yeah, that's how I've come up. If I one of the markers for me when I'm coming into a shop is the smell. If
yeah,
it doesn't have that green soap tinge, it doesn't have, sometimes it's like really strong like green soap. And then sometimes it's like a faint, but it always has that same
yeah.
smell. If it's Dettol or green soap or even Speed Stick, I'll
Yep.
take
I was
that.
gonna say when I first started getting tattooed, Johnny was using Speed Stick. I still use it to this day because it smells like the shop.
Oh
And
yeah.
speaking of that smell, my daughter, every time she comes in here, she always takes a big whiff and goes, "Oh, it smells so good in here." She
Yeah.
loves that smell. It's a smell of just clean and like quality almost.
Yeah.
It's a very distinctive smell, and if you walk in somewhere and it doesn't have that, you're kind of like, "Well, what's going on around here?"
I agree. Yeah, I think that wholeheartedly. That's it. The olfactory sense is just one of the components to it. You know, it's part of the experience.
Yep.
When I walk into a place, and I've done a lot of traveling, walked through a lot of like amazing shops, and when you sniff, when you get it just hits you. You know that it's just one of the things that I just put on my
Yeah.
checklist. And not every shop has really had it, but
But the majority of them,
majority
the
of them, yeah.
good ones.
Like the one down the street, Oliver Peck's got two shops on Elm Street.
What was that?
Oliver Peck,
Oh yeah, Elm
he's
Street
got-
Tattoo.
he's got two shops. He's got Elm Street, and then he's got one down the street, which is more like a appointment only.
Okay,
That's where a guy like Greg Christensen works.
gotcha.
I don't know if you're familiar with him, but
The name kind of sounds familiar. I'd have to see his work. I'm just fucking terrible with names.
that's
But
okay.
as soon as I see someone's tattoo, I go, "Oh, I know that guy."
That's okay. I'm working on it. I myself. I also met Greg and got time to spend with him, and he's an amazing traditional artist. I really adore this kind of stuff that he does, and it helps that I was able to just kind of hang out with him and
Yeah.
drink fucking Diet
Pick his
Cokes
brain
with
a little
him.
bit, just see what he's about.
Yeah. So, but that's where it got those, and he's like in that he's a stone cold serial killer as far as like slaying tats. He is a master. He won't tell you this, but he is a master traditional tattooer. But he works by appointments, and that's where a lot of us. And it didn't really have that kind of smell. It was still well decorated, but less decorated. Whereas if you go
Gotcha,
into
okay.
Elm Street,
There's shit everywhere there.
it's just
Yeah.
like this, and it's a big old mess, and
Yep.
it looks like chaos.
Yeah.
And
Your
the break
eyes are just
room-
darting everywhere, trying to see what everything actually is.
yeah, and the drawing room's like this big. And everyone's climbing on top of each other, and one guy's eating in the corner on the
Luckily,
stool.
here we have quite a bit of space to kind of spread out.
I love how much space you guys have.
Yeah.
It's great. My shop's a little. It's got space, but it can be a little cramped when all 5 artists are in.
Yeah.
But I'm a type of person who likes a lot of space. I like
Yep.
to stretch my arms out and stuff, and I love. Honestly, I love almost everything about this shop. This shop is
it's a great
amazing.
shop.
I love, like, the square footage is definitely one of the things that really ties it in for me.
And it's nice too, because if you want to talk to your buddy in the next station, you can easily do that. The walls don't go all the way up, but we're
I
still
love the half
separated.
wall. Yeah. Tell me a little bit. That's what I wanted to ask. Did you ever have a crazy story or a crazy experience here? Because we get them.
They're not too
every so
crazy.
often.
Every shop has some stories. Fuck, I'm trying to think of something that I'm willing to talk about.
If you don't, that's
Probably,
okay.
probably just the lady barfing on herself in my station.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she came in. She may have had too many. I don't know. I'm not gonna speculate on that. Um, but we finished up the tattoo. She got some dude's name like Ron or something across her back. Typical. Yeah.
Little cursive style, basic.
Yeah, and I cleaned her off. I go, okay, go look at it. And she gets up, and I'm here, and she's there, and she's facing that way. And all of a sudden, I just hear this crazy noise, and she turns around, and she's just covered in her own barf. And I was like, you want to like clean up? And she was like, nah, I'll just wait till I get home.
What?
And I was like, holy shit. And then she just sat in her car, which is probably the best thing because I wouldn't want her driving. She just sat in her car for about 45 minutes. And then I never saw her again. But
That's
it's pretty
nuts.
gross.
She just threw up on herself and was like,
Didn't even get it on the floor or anything, just aimed it all at herself, which is fine with me.
Just caught it.
That's less of a cleanup that I have to do.
That sounds like a horrible one. Yeah.
But yeah, as far as like weird, crazy stories, I mean, I don't have too many of them. I've only been doing this for 3 years. Like, I'm sure Henry's got some cool stories for you.
You got plenty of time.
Yeah.
You got plenty of time to stack them up.
My career is pretty boring so far. I just, like, nothing crazy happens. I try to give the best tattoo to my client that I can, and everyone's pretty polite and fun, and I like tattooing first timers because we get a lot of tourists that come through because they've never been to Humboldt. They want to see the redwoods, and it's always my favorite thing. You pull that first line and they always say, oh, that's not so bad, because for the last 15 minutes they've been amping themselves up for something they think is going to be the most painful thing ever. You pull that first line and they're like, oh yeah, that's not bad at all. And then we have a great time, show them where some good food is, and they leave with a cool story. Fucking yeah, they have a great time. And that's always the best to me, that I can brighten up someone's day just a little bit more than it was before they got here.
So are you really into that social aspect of it?
For me, no, I'm not social at all. I don't like talking to people, except for when I'm here. This is a different world for me. I'll do the best that I can to make you happy and make you feel like you're wanted here. And yeah.
Is this kind of like a mode switch for you, or do you have
definitely.
different?
Yeah, no, if you saw me out in public, even people I know, if I see them at the store, I dip into another aisle just so I don't have to say hi, because I don't like small talk.
I've been shot like
we
that.
all have shit to do, just go on about it.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, so you are generally an introvert kind of guy.
Yeah, very much so. I could go for weeks without saying a word, really. My partner, on the other hand, is totally different. She'll talk your ear off. She's a social butterfly, and me, I'm just like, oh, here's the corner, and then I know where the exit is, and we're leaving soon, right?
Isn't it always like that?
Yeah.
It's just crazy. That used to be me. I used to be the introvert. Now I feel like I'm the extrovert.
Yeah, I was
like,
always pretty shy kid and everything. I like drawing and just sticking to myself. I mean, I had friends, people I get to know. Like when I first started here, they're like, wow, this guy's really shy. He doesn't talk much. And then once I warm up and I get to know you and I'm with you 5 days a week for 10 hours a day, like sometimes I just don't shut up. But most of the time I'm a pretty quiet dude, and I stick to myself, and I can carry on a conversation, but most of the time I don't want to.
Everyone's got a back and forth.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a, that's why the masks represent that, the introvert, extrovert, the drama mask. Everyone's got the potential to be extroverted, and everyone has the potential to be introverted.
Yeah.
But some people prefer one more than the other.
Oh, I prefer sticking with myself and just kind of having all those chaotic thoughts. And sometimes they spew out and everybody's like, what the fuck did you just say? But then I have to explain it. It's not funny to them because they don't get the reference, but it's funny to me.
That's the story of my life right there.
Exactly.
How do you feel about, you're very early in your career, and I would say once you get about 10 years, that's when like you have a lot to look forward to and a lot to look back on.
Yeah.
But what kind of, have you ever thought about what kind of legacy that you're kind of bringing in? What kind of impact you may want to have on the tattoo industry?
No, I mean, I'm not one of those dudes who want to be like in the limelight and like, look at me, look at me. I like having fun, making tattoos and hanging out with people and just tattooing. And if I die and no one knows who I am, that's just fine with me. Like I'm not one of those people who are like, oh, you need to know who I am. As long as I can have a decent clientele and pay my bills, like I'm pretty happy. I don't ask for much in this life. As long as I can feed my family and keep a roof over my head, buy smokes and some weed, I'm good.
Nice. I love it. Let me ask you this then, because that was pretty interesting what you said. Do you feel like having an impact on the industry involves some level of fame?
I mean, to a certain extent, because people need to know who you are, and like most people nowadays know who Sailor Jerry is. He had quite the impact on the industry. I'm not looking for anything like that. Like I said, I want to do good tattoos, and if I die, no one remembers me. That's fine. I don't need that kind of like gratification. Like, look at me. I'd prefer you to not look at me.
A lot of tattoo artists are like that. I would say majority of them.
It's something in our brains. I think it's part of the creative process of not having all that outside stuff contaminating your own thoughts so you can kind of get it out to the world. And if people see it, awesome, and they like it, fucking cool. But I'm not like, look at me, look at me, look at this, look what I made. Nah, I'll show my friends and like my family and Henry just because I want him to like stuff.
I think that well, yes, of course, we all have we have our circle.
Yeah.
We have our circles, and there are people we want to impress, people that mean something to us, versus like trying to impress total strangers. But what I was about to say is that I think that tattooing and art in general tends to attract a specific type of individual, like or just someone with a specific wavelength.
Yeah.
Who tends to like to spend a lot of time by themselves, especially drawing, especially like you're just sitting there. It's almost like I just want to be alone.
Yeah.
And then you're doodling at the same time, and then it starts. There's an association, and then suddenly you're like, oh, I want to doodle because that's my alone time.
Exactly.
And that,
Or sometimes you just have an image in your head of something weird and you kind of need to get it out. Or with me anyway, I'll fixate on that thing. And if I'm not anywhere where I can draw, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm not really paying attention to other things that I probably should be paying attention to. I'm thinking more about that creative of how I want to bring that to life, if that makes any sense.
it does. Well, it does make sense. Like, what kind of what is your creative process? Like, how do you bring something out?
So first off, I smoke a few joints. I sit in a dark room. I usually have some music going, and I'm pretty zoned out, and I'm just kind of just drawing. It always starts off just kind of dicking around here and there, and then before you know it, you're like, oh, this looks cool, and then yeah, eventually something comes from it, or it doesn't. And there's tons of times I'll be drawing, and I'll be like, that's stupid, and I just toss it. My partner hates that. She wants to save everything, and I'm like, no one ever needs to see that.
Well, I think you should save everything. I think
That's what Henry was saying to me the other day too. He was like, it's part of your legacy, and I was like, it's just a drawing.
I was told that a long time ago when I did community college for a little bit, and that was one of the things that someone told me to do, and I did, even though I did hate a lot of the stuff, and I'm glad I did, because once you get the further you go, you'll be glad you hang on to it.
I have some stuff from when I was a little kid, but for the most part, like I've lost everything in my life a few times. So at any given point, anything can just disappear. So I'd rather it not take up space.
Well, if you can, I would encourage you.
Yeah, that's what he says too.
Yeah, if you find it within you, I'd maybe consider it.
Yeah.
If you're doing a creative process, are you the type of person who does it pop into your head and like grow and grow and grow until it gets into the forefront of your mind? Does it start as like kind of like a sparkle?
No, it just starts off full on, just bulldozes itself in there, and it's just like, this is the thing, and I go, okay, fuck, I need to create that. There's not any like little just fickle thing. It's just right there in front of me, and I see it plain as day in my head, and then I gotta make sure everything's dialing in and neurons are firing to get it to come down to here so I can make it happen.
Are you the type of person that can hang on to it for a little while until you can get it down on paper, or do you have to like do it then?
Most of the time I have to do it then, because if I don't, that's gone and a new thing moved in, and with the
Yeah.
blink of an eye, you got 5 more things coming in, and you're like, oh, cool, winged demon. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, what if I draw this little cartoon dog or something like that? And it's all over the place. There's a lot of shit going on up in here at any given moment.
That's kind of how I am. Like if I have something, a lot of times I'll take a note thing to start writing my
Oh, I'm
ideas
so
down.
bad at notes. I'll lose the notebook almost instantly.
It took a long time to really establish that. Actually, my notes are super sloppy. Like if you see my notes here,
Oh, yeah.
and then
It kind of looks like my writing.
but if you look at my Google Keep, what I do is I use Google Keep.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a cloud-based note-taking app, and
What do you mean?
it's a phone thing, internet thing.
Okay.
So, do you have an iPhone or do you have an Android?
Yeah, I have an iPhone, whatever it is. Yeah.
So you could do the same thing with notes, but you can also download an app called Google Keep.
Okay.
And Google Keep is just like a notes app. It's just a blank notes. It's the same thing with notes. If you type in notes on your iPhone, and if you have iCloud, like an iCloud account, it'll save it in the cloud. So what it does is if you have an iPad, which is a good question I'm going to ask you about. If you have an
I
iPad,
love that thing. It's one of my favorite toys.
you can access it on your iPad too, because the Notes app goes across all apps. So
Okay.
So if I write, me personally, I like to use Google Keep. It's the same thing, functions in the same way, except it's easier for me to access on the desktop because I'm a big computer guy. I have a whole rig and everything like that. That's just my thing, and it allows me to do that. So I mean, but that's a great segue into using the iPad. Are you an iPad tattooer?
Yeah, I fucking love the iPad. It's fun.
Do you do sketches or do you just do stencils?
I do a little bit of everything on there. If it's something, I don't know. It just all depends on what I'm drawing. Sometimes I'll do just a quick rough sketch on the paper, or I'll finish the whole thing on paper. But that thing's fun just because it's super convenient. I can take it anywhere. I can sit in the middle of the woods and fucking sit there, and I don't have to bring a whole bunch of stuff with me. And also, I'm not wasting a ton of paper. Like I said, it's a fun toy, and it makes things just a little bit easier.
I like how it's all there.
Yeah.
How it's all.
Granted,
iPad,
there's
all my drawings.
some people that just hate them, and they're like, "Oh, you don't need to use this." Whatever's gonna get you to make the best stuff that you can. Whatever tool you got to use. Same with the rotary pens, if that's what you're used to. Use whatever you got, man. Like I'm not. Oh, it has to be this or it has to be that. Nah, just whatever you need to use to make the best art you can, and go for it.
Do you still use paper?
I do. Not as much as I used to, but yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I like that thing because Mary over there.
Yeah, we gotta. Are you
We're gonna have
constructing
to
right
edit
now?
all that out. Thanks, Mary.
It's like a construction yard over there.
Yeah, no, just put that anywhere. Where were we now? iPads.
Using paper. Your experience with using paper.
I mean, yeah. I don't. I'm a messy drawer, so it's just everywhere. So before I know it, I have 6, 7 tracing papers on top of each other. It becomes a mess, and it's hard for my mind to kind of navigate where I am and where I'm supposed to be. But that thing, it just, like I said, it just makes it easy.
Yeah, totally.
So instead of spending an hour on something, I can spend 15, 20 minutes on something and really dial it in, and makes great stencils too. So that always helps.
I love how it makes stencils. It's amazing. And if you ever really want to get that traditional look, you can print it out, trace it onto like some watercolor paper, and then go to town.
Yeah, that's what I do with all these up here.
Do you have anything you want to include? Any shout outs? Maybe any I love yous to your family or anything?
No, they know I love you. You're kind of weird, like, oh, I like to think so and so. Yeah, nah.
That's okay. Yeah, everyone's different. Well, so what did you think about this interview?
I still don't like doing interviews, but it was pleasant. I always just feel super awkward and weird talking to people since also we just met like an hour ago. Well, you're pleasant to talk to. You have good questions.
I try.
Um, yeah, I haven't looked at any of the cameras because I don't know that I'm on a camera and I might just
That's
shut it
okay.
down completely.
It's better that you look
So
at me.
I've just kind of been locked on you this whole time.
Yeah, it's better that you look at me so that the back and forth between us is natural.
Gotcha.
Well, I mean, so any last words? Well, I really appreciate that you took the time to sit here and talk to me.
I
It
appreciate you coming into our shop and interviewing us and showing the world who you are.
Yeah, I love it, and that's what I want to do. I want to have some. This is what I wanted when I was a young tatter. There was nothing on YouTube or anything, very few.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I don't like about YouTube and tattooing is that it's all celebrity tattooers and tattoos or celebrities with tattoos, and I'm not interested in that. So
I mean, if that's your world, like, yeah, great for you. Like I said, I don't have interest in stuff like that, rock star lifestyle. Most of the time, I just want to be left alone and just go throughout my life.
yeah, I mean,
Almost being unnoticed.
a lot of people are like that. In fact, my original name for this before I named it Inkterview was Everyday Tattooers,
Yeah.
and that's what I mean. And I still keep that vibe. So,
we're all just a bunch of weirdos just trying to get through life and make cool shit.
I just anytime that I can get somebody who's like a day in day out tattooer and that's how they feed their family, that's really what I want to showcase.
I have to. I mean, I have other choices, but why would I want to go through those? It's the best job in the world.
Yeah, I agree. I just that's what you think.
Be a pirate, like, what's better than that?
Yeah, you have the freedom to do what you want. And oh, this is the point I was going to make. It's all an hour later. I remember my point. The great thing about tattooing is that the more you put into it, the more it comes out because you can't get that at that just working for Chipotle or whatever just like and not any knock. I don't want to knock anybody for having it.
Well, no, I mean they're doing a job just like anyone else. They're trying to feed themselves and all that. I'm not knocking anyone for a job like that. I don't want to do them.
Yeah, my first job was Wiener Schnitzel, and it was a stepping stone for me, and it's always
a bunch of retail, fucking maintenance jobs, all that stuff. And this is by far the best job ever.
yeah.
It's stressful at times, but what you get out of it, just
It's well, that's when I realized that because I still had that mentality of all my jobs before because I worked in a grocery store, I worked for fast food, I worked for a hospital, and the hospital probably had the most meaning as far as impact,
yeah.
but still, you just had a job and that's what you did. And then even when I was tattooing, I was still doing that for a little bit, and then one day I realized I was like, wait, if I just work really hard. If I don't stop working, the output is crazy. Like I can make a ton of money. I could, if that's what you need. Sometimes you need a lot of money. It's like fuck, I gotta pay this car repair. It's like all right, well I'm just gonna be in the shop for 16 hours a day.
That's the magic of tattooing. You might be like, oh, how the fuck am I gonna pay my rent? And you're gonna walk in that day and you're like, oh, okay, cool. I just paid rent. Like that's magic.
I've literally done a walk in that I didn't know was coming in. As soon as they left, I go drop money off at the bank and then go pay a bill online. Like literally, like cool.
We're not here for a long time. That's the one thing we all have in common. We all have
That's true.
and we're not here for a long time. You guys walk this fun goes by like that.
It does go by very fast,
What's funner than tattooing?
especially if you have kids, because like the time, like just it that's where time moves the fastest. I feel like.
It shows too because you're looking at your kid and you're like, man, yesterday you're 5, you just turned 11 last month. I'm like, holy shit, what was that time again?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's so crazy, and watching them change over time. Like it's so wild.
Yeah, they're becoming their own little people, and you're just trying to help guide along so they can at least
Yeah.
have somewhat of a decent life, not fear too much or anything like that.
Yeah, just it's like, man, you were practically nonverbal last year, and now you're jumping off the walls telling me what to do.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm enjoying it now because within a few years, probably we won't be cool anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, that's good. I like it.
yeah. So, well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you and thank you.
Thank you.
Right on.